It is 6:01, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Four board members are present: Mrs. Gallo, Mr. Dowdy, Mr. Taylor, and Mrs. Garvin. Mrs. Knotts is absent. We are trying to get her by phone. It is the practice of our Board of Education to begin our meetings with a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. We invite you to bow your heads and for prayer and stand to join us in the pledge if you so choose. Mr. Dowdy.
Please bow your heads. Lord, we respectfully ask for your guidance and wisdom as we proceed with the business before us. Keep us mindful of our purpose of providing a quality education for the students attending Taylor County Schools. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Stallings, do we have any adjustments or addendums to the agenda?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Very good. The superintendent respectfully requests approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Taylor moves.
Second.
Mrs. Gallo seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 4-0. We do have a delegation, so we will begin with that before our 1000 series. Mr. Bobby Beltner. Mr. Beltner, as a reminder, you are a delegation, so we cannot respond to you. You, as noted on your the paper, have a 5-minute time limit, and we are live streaming. So those are all the things that are active.
Gotcha.
Thank you, sir.
So I guess I just want to point a few things out since nobody can respond. First off, anytime you have a deadline for agendas that are due, if it falls on a holiday, it automatically by state, it's not state code, it's on the paper here, see which one I talked to. Anyway, it falls to the next day that is not a holiday, a weekend, by the close of business. So that would, and I'm referencing the emails that you've seen. I know you can't talk, but I'm just referencing the email that you've seen from Mrs. Decker that said technically we didn't meet the deadline, but there's no technicalities, we did. Number two, as far as the addendum goes, nobody really knew when the addendum could be added. I knew before I ever asked the question that it was Friday by the close of business. So then the question comes up, when did I send my request for the addendum, and when did Dr. Stallings act on it? I sent it Thursday at 5 after I had talked to Mrs. Decker, and she had done all she could do, and I realized that. So I just went the next step in the chain of command to ask him if it could be taken care of. I did not call the board office because it's practice of the board to email even when you want to speak at a board meeting, which, by the way, is not legal. 15 minutes before the meeting, you have the place designated for someone to come in and sign in. If I email at 5:25 and I don't leave my house till 5:40 thinking I'm going to get to speak, I'm not going to be here by 15 minutes before. That started in 2020 and has been on the agenda since then, and it should not be on there because it's not correct. Back to the emails. Mr. Taylor had responded that he sent me an email today, and I'm going to paraphrase because it's long and I really don't like talking, believe it or not. But it basically said that it's a possibility that I sent it on my email to Dr. Stallings on Thursday after 5, which I would have still met the addendum calendar Friday by 4:30, and that maybe he didn't get the email. And that's possible, other than the fact that I had a parent complain to me that the Board of Education hadn't acknowledged the football team. I told the parent I didn't have anything in that they needed to reach out to Dr. Stallings, which they did on Friday at 9:50, and he responded at 10:37. So he was reading emails, just maybe not mine. And then I got his email on Saturday morning at 7:30, and the thing that stuck out to me in that email is I don't think he was responding per se to my email. I think he was responding to the email I sent to you all, because in that He assured me that the situation had nothing to do with any intended slight against me. I didn't put that in the email to him. I put that in the email to you all. So, and then the other thing, he thanked me for my patience while it took time to determine how to proceed. So from Thursday at 5 till Saturday morning at 7:30, I'm assuming that that's when it took time to proceed. That's all I really have on the agenda part, but I wanted to point something else while I'm here. It really has nothing to do with any of this. In March of this year, we were asked to submit safety concerns that we had. I submitted a safety concern in March. I'm trying to find it here. I've got so much papers. About the conditions of the field, about the conditions of the football building, being infested with snakes and mice. I asked in June what the status of that was to Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore forwarded it to Mrs. Decker, and she said she would talk to Mr. Potts about it. Well, it has been and it continues to be an issue to the point, and I hate to say this, but where I have mice getting in the players' helmets, and I have to clean up feces before and spray the helmets before the kids get there so it can be safe and sanitary. She had a 6-foot black snake fall on her head opening the garage door of the football building. Some of the problems with the football building I have put requests in 2018, and they've yet to be addressed. So I'm just hoping before next football season, if I'm the coach, that we can address those issues, and even if I'm not, so the kids are safe and I see that my time's up, I set my timer. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. That moves us into the 1000
I have
series.
no.
Oops.
Mrs. Knott's just called in.
And we have Mrs. Knotts by cell phone at this point. Mrs. Knotts, can you hear us?
Mrs. Knott's, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, 1000 series information, superintendent's updates.
Thank you, Mrs. Garvin. As you saw when I sent an email to you before this evening with the very brief one-pager updating about the various things that are currently on the front burner, I guess we'd say, with regard to the status of what we're looking into with regard to the possible assistance with our attorney and of Dinsmore and Scholl, and Mr. Williams from Williams and Shriver, Mr. Martin from Williams and Shriver Architects, and that particular interest that you have going on, which also connects to the concern that continues to be present with regard to the fuel tanks at the bus garage. We also have, as you see there, Mr. Greg Martin from Williams and Shriver is also revisiting his original presentation proposal that he made, I believe it was 2 board meetings ago, once he learned that there was some other interest in another location and the possibility of having a different site for those tanks, that he is now working on revisiting what the proposal would include to is exhume them, lift them out of the ground, I guess, is that? It's just to bring them up out of the ground, and then to purchase those that are to be placed above ground. The last thing has 3 components. That's the new Anna Jarvis Elementary School. And as you saw in those updates, we're currently still working on proposals with neighboring property owners about the possibility of having some alternate parent morning drop-off and parent afternoon pickup, or student drop-off and pickup options once the construction company has been identified and they actually surround the construction area with a fence that will compromise the current exit or entrance into the Anna Jarvis building. The driveway is what I'm talking of. Also, we have, according to the timeline, having spoken to the architects and the proposal for the clerk of the works, which should go into the newspaper effective tomorrow and the following week, Wednesday and Wednesday. That timeline shows that we should be scheduling our groundbreaking ceremony for the last week of January. That's sometime the 27th through the 31st, to be announced once we have determined which one is most appropriate. And remember, that's the end of January, so we'll be thinking about that as soon as possible so that we can get invitations out to the people that are those that you would like to have a part of that. And as that part of those updates I mentioned, that you would all, I would ask the board be thinking about who you'd like to have on that invitation list. We will do that as soon as we have that date determined so that I can then send out the invitations accordingly. And then lastly, on the updates for this week, is the Cornerstone. As you'll recall, we're working with the Masons who have stepped up and offered to put a cornerstone on the new building. And according to the timeline, that would be approximately, and it's larger range, sometime March through May, depending on the construction progress. As you recall, the placement of the cornerstone doesn't occur until the initial score of block is being placed and shouldn't happen after that occurs. So we have to figure out the window based on when the construction is underway. That's all I have for you this evening.
Okay. Any shout outs?
Well, we do have a shout out, and it's really next meeting on the 10th. We have it's scheduled at Taylor County Middle School, as you know, and there has been some question about the Taylor County Middle School football team and their excellent performance, and we are inviting them to attend that meeting so they can be recognized by the board, because that delegation would be pretty large with the cheerleaders and the football team and their coaches, et cetera. And so it'll be on the 10th when we are supposed to be at the middle school. In case you haven't heard, I hope you're noticed when you came in the building. I don't know if it was light enough, but through the assistance and the effort and the skill of Mr. Sam Wilson and his metal trade students, this building currently is now announcing on both the west end and the front wall outside, it says Taylor County Board of Education in stainless steel lettering. I'm excited because it happened as a result of the student effort, not just buying something. So when you go out and in the daytime, when you'll see that, all right, my plan is eventually to have it illuminated in some fashion, but right now it just went up today. It's freshly on the walls, so please note that when you leave. That's all I have for this evening.
All right. Do we have any board member updates or committee meeting reports? Hearing none, we will move on to the 2000 series minutes, policies, contracts, and agreements. The superintendent respectfully requests approval of the minutes for the regular meeting on November 12th, 2024.
Motion moved.
Mr. Doughty moves.
Second.
Mrs. Gallo seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. We have the second reading of policy and codes. Those policies are 2049 through 2054. No action needs to be taken on those unless someone has a question or concern.
I do.
Very good.
So I have a question on the attendance policy, and it may just be because I don't know if my copy got cut off. But on page 2 of 12 at the bottom where it has enrollment, I go from A, which is a student was enrolled the previous year, to then the next page it goes to C. So I don't have a B, and then only C is kind of partially there. So I'm not sure if mine just got cut off or if there is a B. So it's under the policy for attendance, it's 5,200, and then it's from page 2 of 12, and then it goes over to 3 of 12. So it's at the bottom. Yeah, so it goes, yeah.
All I have is what everybody else has. I'll have to pull it up on the computer.
Okay.
To be or not to be?
Yeah, and then I had another question on, but I didn't highlight that, so I'll have to get that at the next I know we have one more reading before it's final, so.
I'm sorry about that. We will certainly make that correction and clarify so everyone has the more correct version in your documents next time.
I was here on July 9th, and there was a board meeting, and it was over the girls' basketball program, and there was a delegation, and not only did that delegation speak longer than 5 minutes, that delegation went into executive session. So I just want to point that out for that to be on record.
Noted. Thank you, sir. Mrs. Gallo, were you able to find?
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that because I didn't highlight that, but it was,
Which one it was?
Thank you for your
yeah.
time.
Was
let
it
me-
from 6 to 7?
No,
'Cause I
it's
think we-
actually a different policy.
We go from 8 on 6, 6 of 12 to 7 of 12, we go 1, 2, 3.
On that 5200 policy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me flip back.
Under the attendance director, it's labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on page 6 of 12, and then on 7 of 12. It still looks like it's under the letter D, but then it,
Oh, I see what you're
Focusing on the
saying.
attendance director, you're focusing on that.
I think it might just be the sentence flows from page 6 to page 7.
I believe
This-
what should change, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
I believe it should say 8, and then that should be A through, begin lettering. It's really more formatting as opposed to
Correct.
a loss of language.
That's correct, yes. Yes.
We will make that adjustment as well.
The other one, and like I said, I may have to get back to you on this, but it was on the 5500. I don't know, I flagged page 14 of 15, but I apologize, I'll have to get back to you on what my concern or question was there for clarification.
5,500, you say?
Yeah, I think it was more in regards to just my clarification with the student code of conduct, which is at the bottom, but again, I apologize, I'll reread that again and let you know what my question was.
Okey-doke.
Okay. Moving on in the 2000 series, item 2055 under agreements. Superintendent respectfully requests approval of an agreement with Tetrick and Bartlett, PLLC, to conduct the FY24 school
Aye.
audit.
I apologize, I need to abstain from that, please.
Okay,
I apologize, I was not prepared on that one, I did not see that.
Yep.
May I please abstain from 2055?
yes, please.
Thank you.
Is he wanting to recuse or abstain?
Recuse, okay. No worries.
I just,
Okay.
thank you, just clarifying.
All right, so the superintendent respectfully requests approval of item 2055 in the 2000 series.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Taylor moves, Mrs. Gallo seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Please return, Mr. Dowdy.
I need 3551, or 5351 voted separately when we get to that.
Okay.
The one that I had spoke about as well, if we could speak on that.
Could you repeat that number, please, Mr. Taylor?
5351.
And Mr.
I'm a
Dowdy?
little ahead of myself.
It's all right. We'll go ahead and edit that, though.
Please. 5348.
Again,
5348.
48, thank you.
Okay. We will address those two items when we get to the 5,000 series. Moving back to the top of the 3,000 series, consent orders, consent calendar and purchase orders. There are several pieces there, and request to use facilities, chaperones. Superintendent respectfully requests approval of items 3098 through 3104 in the 3,000 series.
Motion moved.
Mr. Doughty moves.
Second.
Mr. Taylor seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Motion passes. 4,000 series financial vouchers payable. Mr. Dolan, what do you have for us?
So inside your packet is just the copy of checks to be released after your approval for bills that we have to pay.
All right. Superintendent respectfully requests approval of items in the 4,000 series.
Moved.
Mrs. Gallo moves.
Second.
Mr. Doughty seconds. Questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. Moving into the 5,000 series. At this point, I will entertain a motion for a separate vote on item 5351.
I make a motion to pull 5351 for separate vote.
Very good. And
Second.
Mrs. Gallo makes the motion. Mr. Taylor seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Taylor, would you like us to do that first?
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. Superintendent respectfully requests approval of item 5351 in the 5,000 series.
Moved.
Motion.
Sorry.
Mrs. Gallo moves. Mr. Doughty seconds. All those questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Mr. Taylor?
Thanks, Al.
Hey, Mrs. Garvin,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just being nosy at this point. What subjects will Mr. Taylor be teaching? What grade levels? I'm just being nosy, or is it all?
Um,
Yes, you can substitute all.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, thank you.
Very good. All
Is
right.
5348 a separate vote, or is that discussion?
If we could,
Okay, at this point, we'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for a discussion on personnel.
Moved.
Mrs. Knotts moves.
second.
Mr. Doughty seconds. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, and the board is in executive session at 6:24 PM. We will excuse ourselves to Dr. Stallings' office, and we will return momentarily, or shortly. Return from executive session at 7:02 PM. We are in the 5,000 series. The superintendent respectfully requests approval of items 5348 through 5355, with the exception of 5351, as it has already been voted on.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Taylor moves, Mr. Doughty seconds. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Takes us to the 8,000 series. Board member comments and discussion.
Had a question. Was the golf coach supposed to be on the agenda tonight for the middle school?
What did you say?
Was the golf coach supposed to be on the agenda tonight? Remember last time we were still awaiting the final information regarding.
Oh, I thought it was supposed to be on the agenda, so,
It has come through, it will be on the 10th.
We were only able to put it
Okay.
on it as soon as we got that final
Certification.
documentation.
yeah. Will
That's two.
Bobby Beltner be on the agenda for the 10th?
It's already on there.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
If, do you have your sentence?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm saying this correctly or not, but with that on the 10th, are we able to do any type of, since this is an unpaid, he's already has his license and everything, is there any way that we can have that to where he can do practices now,
What are we
but
talking?
prior to?
Bobby, the gentleman's here wants to
Yeah.
do the unpaid.
Oh, I got you.
Since this is an unpaid position and we can, there's no logistics on that end of it, is there any way that we could put it on the 10th with a back date of the 19th approval or anything like that? I'm just asking, I don't know. I'm not in the know on that. For the reason that I'm asking that is so that he would be able to attend the practices and or instruct the kids in that.
If you're requesting that the superintendent make that recommendation, I'm not comfortable doing so.
Understand?
And it has nothing to do with my feeling toward Mr. Beltner. I know that he's expressed that concern and allegation, but that is simply not true.
Understood.
Could we check with Mr. Potts and School Dude and make sure that any outstanding work orders and or requests for any of our buildings or exterior facilities are checked off or current, or like, I know that sometimes you hear, oh, I had to put that in School Dude a couple of times. And I just want to make sure that we're as current as we can be. I know that our maintenance department is full force all the time. If there's a place where we need to get extra because we see that there are things behind,
May
we'd
I
like
ask
to
a
know.
question? Is this a maintenance issue or is this an exterminating issue? Like, could they possibly?
Well, so if you're asking me to speak specifically about that, so this was part of our discussion during times of priorities of buildings, and it was discussed with the building level administration of possibly replacing that as a funding through athletics and football. As that building that was being referenced was really a maintenance building. It was never intended to be a building of use for people.
Okay.
I will say that. And so that was a conversation that we have had with the administration there. We can follow up on that.
Yeah, if we can just make sure that all of the projects in School Dude are,
We actually have a new system, and
Okay.
so we just were talking about this at administration, the administrative council on Monday. So there is an update to School Dude, and so those work orders are, new work orders will be put into the new system. Old ones will be entered into by Elvira as we're making sure those are getting done, and she's going to assign those to people.
Okay.
So, and also Dr. Stallings and I maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months ago now, we pulled every open work order, actually, and we reviewed every open work order together, and we prioritized those, and we sent those back to maintenance saying, these are the areas we want done first, and then these are the areas that we want you to continue to work on as we can. So we did that for every open work order in School Dude. So we are continuing to do
Okay.
that with them. And so as this new system's put in place, we'll be able to manage that a little bit better. as well.
Cross-reference all of our
Yes,
maintenance
yes.
needs. Great.
Thank you.
I have a question, kind of probably for the next meeting, but in regards to that, it was brought to my attention from a community member about the low lighting or low illumination there at, I think it's Sanborn Drive. It is difficult to see people walking there. So I know we've talked about this, but I just wanted to just get any kind of, Mr. Potts, maybe to look at that again.
Can you narrow it down as to what part of Sanborn Drive we're referencing, please?
Along the side there between the student parking lot.
The crosswalk, if you would.
Yeah, more particularly at that crosswalk.
The reason I asked that question is we
I-
just
I know.
accomplished I believe we have approximately 9 new lights along there, including the replacement. I'm not sure who did it, but there was a pole, like a dusted on lamp just on the corner by the church. That was being investigated as whether or not that was our property or the city's responsibility, but it has been addressed. It is now illuminating. There is no specific light. I don't want to sound argumentative at all. I just want to assure you that all those things have continuously been addressed with more and more lighting. Has it been a recent request of that?
Yes, I think it's more maybe the angle of them. And I think it's still causing a little bit of
So
lower
possibly-
visibility.
Possibly one could be turned.
Because the way it is, it's casting shadows, and then it makes it difficult to still see individuals in that area. So I don't know if it's more of a angling of the lights.
Well,
It
we'll
was
certainly look
just-
into it to see maybe.
Yeah, it was just a concern.
Like on
I
my way
said I
home
would-
tonight, I'll drive by and when it's dark and see what we're talking about. So, yeah.
Yeah, I
we'll
just
figure
said I would
something out.
kind of bring it to that, their concern.
One thing I want to mention is that the paving projects, I did have a chance to go to the schools that received those, and I've got to admit that at first I wasn't an advocate for the timing of that, but after having seen that, I am thoroughly pleased and excited about how well that turned out. So disregard what I previously said. I apologize, and it looks amazing especially the high school.
Yeah.
That looks absolutely phenomenal. I'm very pleased with the work that they did. Just kudos to them. It looks amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Decker, for overseeing that.
Yeah, it just, I mean, and I heard no complaints
Yeah.
whatsoever on so I
tried really, really
retract any concerns I had. It turned out amazing.
Even to the point where I was a little, they tried to change a date, and I said, absolutely not.
No,
So,
yeah, it turned out
We
great.
we got it done, though.
Yeah.
The other question that I had that maybe we could look at the next meeting is, and I believe we've reviewed this, but maybe we take a look at it again, our delegation process and matters that get on the agenda, like the policy or process. I don't know if we could take a look at that, just to review it, just to make,
I don't want to say why. Could you clarify that, please?
just so that we're clear with the communication and the process of a community member being on the agenda for delegation in regards to things what were mentioned earlier. I know I can't discuss at this point, but if we could just review that, and then the timeframes for the agenda items.
Okay, so the timeliness of adding things to agendas that
Just
policy
what
apply.
that time frame is, so we
All
could,
right.
we have a policy on that to just review it.
Along with that, I know that at one point we had discussed making sure that the delegation form indicated that they would be on the live stream, and I'm not sure that we've seen that update. So if we could, not on the agenda, the delegation form,
The form they fill out can be a delegation.
yes. Okay. There is some wording at the top of the agenda.
Right, that's
that-
what I'm referencing, to see, you'd
Okay.
like to have that clarified further.
No, sir. Well, yes, but more specifically, should I arrive at 5:45 for a 6 o'clock meeting and feel the need to speak to you on something, I, as a member of the public, I fill out this form. This form does not indicate that I am part of a live stream situation. We had, I thought we had talked about adding that, just to
We-
make
we
sure
had.
that we.
I believe you did.
Okay. So,
Yeah, that was part of what,
part of that.
Yep.
Ongoing discussion and clarification sets, so. Any additional comments or discussion?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Knotts. All right, that moves us to the 9,000 series, future meetings. Tuesday, December 10th, 6 o'clock at the middle school. Tuesday, December 17th, 6 o'clock here at the board office. January 14th, 6 o'clock at Grafton High School. And January 28th, 6 o'clock here at the board office. And Dr. Stallings, you have another meeting you need to add for us, don't you?
Why, yes, Mrs. Garvin, I do. Unfortunately, I received notification that we have one other student currently in the status of being suspended with a recommendation for an expulsion, and the deadline for having that completed, according to what I understand, would be December 2nd or 3rd. That's Monday or Tuesday after Thanksgiving week. So I don't have a recommendation from you yet, and/or need to prepare a letter for the family to let them know as well.
Tuesday?
Monday the 2nd or Tuesday the 3rd?
I'd say Tuesday myself.
I don't have a work schedule in front of me.
Unfortunately, I cannot do Tuesday, but as long as unfortunate it is, as long as there's 3 of you, whatever day works better for the majority is fine.
I could do either.
I can do either.
And I think if Mrs. Garvin can come on Monday, are you
Yeah.
able to come on Monday?
I am able to come on Monday. Are you able to come on Monday, John?
If I have to.
Sounds to me like it's
Do we
at
need to wait
Monday.
until Dr. Stallings gets back to us?
About what, Mrs.
Well,
Knotts?
he has to have a date so that he can get back to the parents so that we meet the timelines.
I thought he said he, was gonna get back with us, okay.
No, I apologize. I needed to get a hold of the parents to give them ample notification.
Okay, I must just be having a hard time here a little bit.
Sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Dowdy, will you have access to your schedule when you get home this
Yes, I
evening?
will. Yes, I will.
Okay, for logistical reasons, can we pinpoint this date after Mr. Dowdy has a chance to look at his calendar? Which logistics we can do via an email with
Can I-
response,
May I have that tomorrow?
or by later this evening?
Yeah, I just have one calendar with me right now. I apologize, I don't have the other one with me.
Okay,
Okay.
then with all due respect to Mr. Dowdy, you have 4 that are available for the Monday.
Correct. I
Okay.
would, if you have my permission to go with the second, and I will do my best, my due
Okay.
diligence to do the second as well.
All right, we will aim for December 2nd.
Are we talking 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock sounds,
Whatever your pleasure
Delightful.
is.
6 o'clock it is. All right, so in the 9,000 series, we have now added Monday, December 2nd, 6 PM here at the board office. I believe that that concludes the business of the evening. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Mr. Dowdy moves. Mrs. Gallo seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you all for your time and your effort and your diligence.